one after the other and the values are attached, okay, or the diagram is an attached diagram where we call it also as an area diagram. However, in a bar diagram you would have individual bars that would be there, and I do not actually find out the class reference for each of the bars that are there. So here, that is the major difference between the histogram and a bar graph that could be explained. Okay, so histogram has to be equally spaced, and the height or the interval and the frequency is reflected based on the spacing that's there. The next question. Now this is a question that was asked by Jyoti, I believe, and we have already talked about it. So again, the same question here. So reliability, validity and usability. These are the three important criteria that help us understand whether a test is reliable or not. So a test can be reliable without being valid. So that is very, very important. That means a test has to be reliable in order to be valid. Now, or I can simply say a test cannot be valid unless and until it is reliable. So what I do is, I have a very, very simple example. Let's say you have a weighing machine at your house. What would happen if the weighing machine tells you the same weight every time, as in when you step on the weighing machine, you have the same weight that is being registered. Now, if the weighing machine is not accurate, what would happen? You would have every time the weight that would vary. So we need to understand whether the weighing machine is reliable or not, or it is consistently giving the correct results or not. If the weighing machine is incorrect, sometimes it would give you as 50 kg, at other point it would make you 40 kgs, at other point it might make you 80 kgs. That means the weighing machine is not consistent and not reliable. But it does not mean that the weighing machine is not valid. It is still valid because it is measuring your weight only. Every time it's trying to measure the weight, but the reliability is poor. It's not consistent in its findings. And that's where we understand that for any scale to be valid and reliable, it has to be very, very important that you are trying to maintain a right consistency that's there, which is the reliability. And therefore we say that a test cannot be valid until and unless it is reliable, or a test has to be reliable when we are trying to say it is valid. Okay, so that is a very, very, very important aspect that we need to understand. Learning, which involves motor organs, that is bodily movements, we call it motor learning. When it involves sense organs, we call it sensory learning. When it involves both, we call it sensory motor learning. And when it involves verbal words that are there, we call it a verbal learning. So very, very simple question. Now this is a very important question that was sent in. How and why sample size increases and error decreases? So let's say I have 2000 students here. Okay, now understand my sample size is 2000. Of this 2000, initially I take 20 students in the first round, so my sample size is not that accurate. Now I take 200 students of this. What would happen? My sample size has increased. So as I increase my sample size, the probability of error would what? The error would automatically decrease, because there is higher probability that I am taking a uniform set of population that is there. So whenever we are doing approximations, if we are reducing the sample size, our errors would increase. If we are increasing the sample size, our errors would decrease. I hope that's clear. The next question. Which of these statements are correct? Now Venn diagrams. So Venn diagrams is what you use in syllogism problem. So you have a kind of 3 Venn diagram that we talk about. Okay. Now here, Venn diagrams are a clear method of notation, correct. Venn diagrams are most directly used for testing categorical syllogism, again correct. Okay, Venn diagram methods has the premise and the conclusion in the diagram. No, what we are marking in the diagram is the values for premise 1 and premise 2 only, and after we have marked that, we are trying to draw conclusion out of that. So this statement is incorrect. Venn diagram, 3 overlapping circles are drawn for testing the categorical syllogism. Again, correct. So that is what we have been doing. So you have 1, 2 and 4 statements which are correct here. The next question is, Bhaskar works in Gurgaon and lives in Malad. Usually Bhaskar leaves from his home at Malad at 10. However, today he got up late and he was 20 minutes late. So today he is running 20 minutes late. In order to reach his office in time, he increases the speed by 20% and still reaches 15 minutes late. Find the time at which the Bhaskar reaches in usual situations. Now this is a speed time problem that we would cover when we would be covering our sections on the arithmetic. We have not so far done it. Now understand this question. Bhaskar works, so we will understand two scenarios. One is the distance covered in both the scenario would remain the same. So distance in both the cases would remain the same, but my speed and time in one scenario and speed and time in other scenarios are different. Okay, so in the first case, usually, so speed is equal to distance upon time first of all. So distance is equal to speed into time. In the first case, what I am saying is speed into time remains the same. Okay, the initial speed and the initial time was same, was SNT. Okay, not the same, SNT. Okay, now in the final case, there is a change in the speed. The speed is increased by 20%. So let's say when the first case the speed was 1s. Okay, now it has become 1.2s and my time has also changed. So he left 20 minutes later. Initially he leaves at time t, let's say 60 minutes. Now he is 20 minutes late. So he is leaving 20 minutes late. So less time than his original time, 20 minutes less, but he is 15 minutes late. But when he is reaching, he is 15 minutes late. Now with this, I solve st is equal to 1.2s into t minus 5. I solve this equation, I find the values for t. Okay, so that is how you have a very simple question that is here. A very interesting question that was put up. I hope that is clear. Yes, Pankaj, you can find out that from the second graph as well directly. Okay, the next question is, which of the following is not an advantage of learner-centered method? Now, learner-centered method, what is a difference between a teacher-centered versus a learner-centered approach? Learner-centered instruction operates on a different basis, or I could say on a student-centered basis. However, teacher-centered focuses on a teacher-centered approach, which is focusing on the teacher. Now, the student's independence, okay, is related to a teacher-centered approach. So you have student being independent is a teacher-centered approach, and if they are able to learn on their own, if they are able to solve questions on their own, if teacher acts as a facilitator and promotes students to make their own decisions, then we say this is a active approach where students are being made independent. Okay, so this is a very important advantage of a teacher-centered approach, and therefore this is not an advantage of learner-centered. A learner-centered, which is student-focused, would always try to communicate, collaborate skills, would be more interesting in learning activities and learn to direct their own learning. Okay, so they are working on their own betterment, completing their own task, interacting with others, participating with others. So, but making students independent is the objective of the teacher-oriented approach or a teacher-centered method, where the focus is the teacher acts or behaves as a facilitator, making the students remember the concept and learn them independently. Now here there is another question on syllogism that is there. You have again fruits, potatoes and vegetables that are there. So you have fruits, potatoes and vegetables. So let's mark it fruits, potatoes and vegetables. Now in the very first round, I say you have all is the statement that we take first. Okay, so all fruits are potatoes. So fruits, if any, would be potatoes. That means there would be no fruits in this region which are not potato. Some fruits are vegetables. So some of the fruits are vegetables. That means I mark X here. Now Which of the statement would be true? All vegetables are potato. Incorrect, because vegetable can be here, here or here. Okay, some potatoes are vegetables. Some potatoes are vegetable is true because you have a cross that is here. So if some fruits are vegetable is true, some potatoes are vegetable would also be true. And some vegetables are fruits is again true. This either say I say some fruits are vegetables or some vegetables are fruits. Both of those would be true. So you would have both B and C. That would be the correct option that would be there. The last question that we would be discussing today is about inductive reasoning. So as I said, inductive reasoning focuses on ISG, specific to general. And when I'm saying specific to general, I'm trying to make this concept a uniform concept, as simple as this. So whenever we focus on inductive approach, we focus on uniformity of nature. And this was something that was propounded by Hume in his approach or his solutions to problems of induction that were there. So let's say if I am saying black swans that are there, I have seen, let's keep it this way. I see some of the swans that are there which are white. Okay, and therefore I say all the swans are white in color. So this is a inductive approach, and there is where you have a uniformity, and this was, I could say, was laid much beyond before, when we said there was discovery of black swans that was seen. Okay, so that was only and only about white swans that we had discussed. I hope that is clear, and we are strictly on time, so we have covered the ones for today. Okay, Upma wants me to repeat the question on DI again. Definitely, Upma. So let me go back again. Okay, so here is the question. Now listen, Pankaj has another solution for you, which is one of the easiest solutions if you want. Okay, now what we are trying to find out here is expenses is given. Income minus expenditure. Let's say I earn 100 rupees. Let me make it simple. I earn 100 rupees and I spend 80 rupees. How much I am left with? 20. That 20 I'll keep in the bank, and that is my saving. So always income minus expenditure would give you saving. I hope this is the very fundamental thing that is clear to you. Now, my saving as a percentage of expense is given. So my saving is what? My saving is 25 in this case. My expense is what? 120 in this case. So this 25 as a percentage of 120 is what is given. Okay, so this 25 as a percentage of how much? 120. So 25 as a percentage of 120. So it is 6 by 5. Now 5 by 5, 5. So you would have 30. So this value, this my original saving is how much? My original saving is 30, not 25. 25 is my saving as a percentage of expense. Okay, so this value comes out to be 30. My expense is 120, that's already given in the bar graph. So what is my income? That is 150, that is 120 savings plus, expenses plus savings. So 120 plus 30, that makes it 150. Now, I do it for all these till F. Now my question says for F, I have to find out if the expense on the rent as a percentage of income of F is 12.5%. So income of F is how much? 160. Okay. As a percentage of income of F, my expense is 12.5%. Okay. So I calculate this. I find out the value which comes out to be 20 in that case. Now this 20 is my expenditure on rent. What is my other expenditure? So for F, 140 is the total expenditure. Now out of this 140, 20 I spent on rent. What is the expenses on other items? It is 140 minus 20, which is 120. Again, what I have to calculate is other expenses as percentage of his saving. So what is his saving? His saving is 160 minus 140. So 160 minus 140 would give me his saving, which is 20. His other expenses is 120 as a percentage of his saving, which is 20. So I calculate this value. So this is other expense. Don't get confused with 2020 everywhere. Okay. So this is the other expense that is there, and this is the saving that is there. Okay, so other expense as a proportion or percentage of saving would give me the answer, which is 600. I hope that makes it clear.